Western advanced country, with a prescription drug benefit having been passed that has benefited many seniors, which Bush gets no credit at all, which he took on his own party for. And in the real world, the choices are not, perfection and a pretty good presidency. In the real world, he's made a lot of tough decisions, most of them correct. When he became president, Al-Qaeda was ascendant. Saddam Hussein was contained, but unsustainably so, unless you think we could have had sanctions and inspectors for the last 8 years. North Korea and Iran were secretly working on nuclear weapons programs, then 9/11. Bush reacted to that correctly, basically. History will look kindly on Bush's performance as a national security and homeland security president. And one piece of the proof is that Obama is not going to change much. As the Obama people get briefed on the threats, they see that the surveillance program is necessary. I suppose Obama will close Guantanamo and move, in effect, Guantanamo here to the United States and put the people at Fort Leavenworth, but he's not going to release these people into the U.S. Enhanced interrogation techniques, which McCain and Obama opposed. I guess I'm a lonely person in defending those. Saved an awful lot of lives when used on Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, and I'm not willing to second-guess the decision to use those techniques. Bush was a strong president on national security. The decision to go into Iraq was necessary, I think. The Middle East today, with Saddam in power, or his sons in power, with terror connections, redeveloping the weapons of mass destruction programs, presumably, since I don't think we could have kept sanctions on and inspectors in for 8 years, would have been a much more dangerous place. The decision to go with the surge was a courageous decision. It was the right decision. It's been utterly vindicated. Bush said, let's do this. Here's what will happen. Here's how it will work. The critics said it can't work. It wasn't working. And now Barack Obama, of course, being an intelligent person, admits that the surge worked. And we are now beginning to draw down in a position of success in Iraq, not leaving a country that would have been a breeding ground for terror. I mean, the degree to which Bush does not get enough credit for refusing to cut and run in 2007 in Iraq, the degree to which people don't appreciate the geostrategic disaster that would have been, it remains kind of amazing to me. The rest of Bush's foreign policy has been, I have my quarrels with some of it, but most of it's been pretty successful. The relationship with India, the management of the China and Japan relationships. The Europeans have been annoyed at Bush at various times. On the other hand, we're working more closely with Europe on Iran than we ever have before. And for all the talk about the U.S. image in the world, the truth is Barack Obama is not going to change those policy much at all. On the economy, obviously that's been terrible in the last few months. Did have economic growth over these 8 years. On the other hand, the big piece of deregulation that everyone loves to cite was presumably the 1999 deregulation of financial institutions signed by Bill Clinton. So he gets a bit of a bum rap on the economy, but it's a little ridiculous to say Bush is the worst president in 50 years. Barack Obama is an intelligent, impressive man. He promises change. I hope he brings some change. But the fact of the matter is, Obama's presidency will be, in most major respects, the continuation of the Bush presidency, and that's a good thing for the country.
Thank you, Bill Kristol. Simon Jenkins is a journalist and an author and writes a column for The Guardian. He is a British subject. He is a friend of America, but has never hesitated to tell America when it thinks it has made mistakes. Ladies and gentlemen, Simon Jenkins, arguing for the motion.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I just heard a wonderful suggestion. Barack Obama is going to be the second worst president since the war. The only thing I think that might make you, or many of you at least, not agree that George Bush is the worst American president in 50 years is to hear somebody say it in a British accent. There is something about foreign accents on these subjects that gets people's backs up, so I beg your pardon. When George Bush came to power, I was rather in favour of him. I liked the remark about America setting the world an example by what it did at home, rather than by getting the 82nd Airborne to lead kids to school. This seemed to me to be a refreshing, unbombastic, unostentatious diplomacy. Then came 9/11. And I've always remembered those few weeks after 9/11, when the whole world was pro-American. Yasser Arafat gave blood for New Yorkers. Many people forget that. Almost nobody was not on America's side for those 2 or 3 weeks. And the disaster that followed, going to war in crude retaliation for it, as something from which I don't think American policy abroad has ever recovered. Afghanistan is heading in exactly the same direction. I think Afghanistan is going to be a far worse mistake than Iraq. But in every single theatre that you look, you will see what I can only describe as the wrong decisions taken. Now, those of us who feel very strongly about America always regarded the basis on which America operated out of its area, America went abroad to do things, was that it had a sort of moral superiority. There was, behind what it did, a backbone. And that backbone was the backbone on which those people who approved of American intervention abroad always relied on. I'm afraid under the leadership of the last 8 years, that backbone has snapped. If you go around the world today, you will find the most extraordinary faith in the person you've elected as your next president. I have never come across anything like it. A totally naive belief that this is the Messiah, Barack Obama, has come to save not you, but everybody. The reason why I think unrealistic, possibly disastrous expectations are made of Barack Obama is that George Bush, for better or for worse, George Bush has caused such a catastrophe in so many countries around the world. I congratulate you on voting for Obama. I hope you will vote for this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon Jenkins. Karl Rove has been a member of President Bush's political family since President Bush first decided to go into politics. It goes back more than 2 decades. He is known as the architect of the 2000 and 2004 victories. The president has referred to him as the boy wonder. Ladies and gentlemen, Karl Rove.
Thank you, John. Thanks to Intelligence Squared for having me here tonight. Simon, I know what you mean about the problem of foreign accents. I'd like to spend my time talking about the drive-bys we just saw. Let's start with education. And in the 5 years since No Child Left Behind has come into force around this country, we have seen more improvement in reading and math and science scores in those 5 years than we've seen in the 28 previous years combined. And the scores have gone up most among the minority communities, black and brown and poor and rural. PEPFAR. I heard a dismissal of this incredible effort by the generosity of the American people that is today providing over 2 million people in Africa with life-saving retroviral drugs. Now, sure, we insist upon encouraging programs to educate people about abstinence and faithfulness within marriage and how those can help break the cycle of the spread of AIDS. And it's working. Now, about that invasion of Iraq, I appreciated hearing about how it was done on a false premise, and hearing those words come from the mouth of somebody who wrote eloquently about the need to remove Saddam Hussein from power. Appreciate your support at the time. Nice of you to flip-flop now. Easy to flip-flop now. Look, do we wish we had the weapons were there? And it was justified under those terms? Yeah. You know what? You know what, though? Smart people like Bill Clinton and Al Gore and John Kerry and our new Secretary of State designate sat on the floor of the Congress or at the White House in the 90s or in the Congress in the 2000s and said Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. And we now know that there was a reason why he didn't have them, but he wanted us to think he had them. And I loved also being lectured about sabotaging unity after 9/11. That was not national unity in the aftermath of 9/11, and it was an absence of national unity because there were Democrats in the Congress who never accepted the legitimacy of this president. Talk about the mismanagement of the economy. Let's talk about it. The Dow down 38%. The NASDAQ down 78%. The S&P down 50%.